Hey sisters, Jen here, aka your sober minded sis. If you've ever wondered why one drink turns into more, then this workshop is for you. Today, we're going to talk about what actually happens after the first drink. Okay, we all know that I'm just going to have one. At least that's maybe our goal or our initial intention. The first drink literally changes your brain. That's right. You heard me. It's literally brain chemistry, what's going on. Because what happens is we just think, oh, I'm just going to have a drink to take the edge off. Oh, I'm just going to have a drink to connect with my husband or socialize with my friends, or maybe just relax and unwind on the back patio. What happens is we take that first drink, and that's where the choice is made to have that first drink. And when we take the first drink, our dopamine gets a major hit. Okay. Our reward center in our brain gets the message, hey, good job. This is what you wanted. And you're going to get an instant reward. You're going to get instant relief because alcohol is an anesthetic, it's a depressant. And so you're going to feel that if you're anxious, if you're worried, if you're overthinking, it's going to numb a lot of those feelings and even sensations in your body, which I got to say can feel good for about 20 minutes, 30 minutes until it wears off. You've also got to know that after your first drink, your inhibitions go down. Now, all of a sudden, you're not as much in the driver's seat of your own brain. The alcohol is now taking effect. And after that first drink, your inhibitions go down. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of you that's making really logical, intentional choices, is now getting in the back seat. And alcohol is getting in the front seat. And that is going to lower your inhibitions. And then also, you're going to find that your desire increases because you're really starting to stir the craving loop, the craving cycle, because dopamine, again, is based on reward. And we are wired for dopamine hits. We live in basically a dopamine saturated environment where we're just constantly looking for ways to eject, numb out, distract, and that creates more of a desire for itself. In fact, alcohol is very unique in the sense that it actually creates a thirst for itself because it tells your brain, this was good. This feels good. Maybe if we have more, it'll feel even better. How many of y'all out there have ever thought one's good, two's going to be even better? And if two's good, for sure, three is really going to do the trick. And that creates that loop. So after the first drink, you are no longer making the same decision. Okay. Once you had that first drink, you are no longer in the same brain space as you were before that first drink. So it's not about willpower after the first drink. Now chemistry has actually gotten in the equation. Okay. So you're not weak. This is not an issue of you just need to try harder and want it more and more willpower, more self discipline. No, this is actually about chemistry changing in your brain, in your body, not to mention the emotional release that you get from having maybe some negative emotions numb out for a minute. Okay. So why just one doesn't stay just one? Do y'all want to know that? I was always mesmerized. How can I have such good intentions and then not follow through? Whereas in other areas of my life, I did have good intentions and I could follow through. Not with drinking, not the case. It's because our brain wants to extend the reward. It's man, if this is good, more is better. And that's really not the case. In fact, did you know this? I'm quoting from my friend William Porter's book, Alcohol Explained. On page 11, he says, indeed, the more often we take an external drug, like alcohol, the more proficient our body will become at counteracting its effects. That's called tolerance, my friends. That is called tolerance. And the more tolerance you have, You would think, hey, that's a good thing. I can tolerate more. I can hold my liquor. I can hang out with the big league. Actually, all that means is you've also increased dependency. You've increased your ability to match what you're putting in your body. And that's not necessarily a good thing because it also doesn't really give you a good feedback loop as to what you're actually doing to your health. But again, it's not being satisfied with less. It's thinking if a little bit is good, more is better. Leave a comment below if this is resonating with you. Because how many of you thought, yeah, that works in other areas of my life. If something's good a little bit, more is going to be better. And that's actually not true with alcohol. There's something called, I know, again, go with me here. I was a business major in college. I was a marketing major. And one of the things that we learned about is the concept of diminishing marginal returns. What does that mean in layman's terms? What does that mean to the average person? It actually means the more you have of it, the less you're going to benefit from it or enjoy it or get the results that you're looking for. There are other things out there that have reverse tolerance, which means the more you have of it, the less you need of it to get the same effect. Not true with alcohol. As I mentioned, you become better at counteracting it, meaning your anxiety might get worse, your hangovers might get worse, but that's your body actually working to meet the level of use that you're having with this substance, with this external substance. And what happens over time, y'all, it's just momentum builds. It literally creates this loop where it's okay, did the chicken come before the egg or the egg before the chicken? Did I have anxiety and so I drink, or do I drink because I had anxiety? It's really hard to tell because you start to get in this crazy loop. And the loop itself, I call it the detox to retox loop. And the loop itself begins to have a life of its own. And it actually builds momentum because your cravings actually go up. The more alcohol you have, the more alcohol over time you tend to desire. That's why one drink rarely stays at one drink. It's because you're building tolerance. Your reward center is firing up like crazy, and our bodies are designed to chase after that reward. So the decision point is before the first drink. Maybe you've heard this before, you order the first drink, but the first drink then orders the second and third and so on. So you're in the driver's seat when you are making the choice for that very first drink. And that's why it's important to be armed with the knowledge that you need to realize once you have a drink, now alcohol is entering the chemistry equation, the actual equation of what's going on in your brain, and you're less likely to follow through. And the important thing to know here is the easiest drink to say no to is the first one. The easiest drink to say no to is the first one. And I have personally found in my own journey, it's actually easier for me to say no to the drink than to try to manage or moderate the drink itself, which again creates a thirst for itself with the dopamine hit and the reward loop and the pattern of relief. And then our brain remembers the relief more than it remembers the regret. So what do we do, y'all? What do? We got to interrupt before this shift happens. We've got to interrupt by bringing our awareness into the equation. Y'all, you've heard it said before, awareness is the first step. It's actually very true. I like to talk about the 3 Ps. We talk a lot about this in Sober Sis. I mention it a lot throughout my 21-day reset challenge that begins at the beginning of every month. And the 3 Ps are critical, especially when you're on the edge of, should I drink tonight or not? Should I have one or none? Here's what I have found to be very fruitful. First, the first P is pre-decide. I don't know about you, but I know me. And I know if I have not decided before I walk into a friend's birthday party like I did last night, or a wedding, or a date night, or a girls' night out, or anything, even time in my own kitchen, if I haven't pre-decided what I'm going to do before I get in a very familiar setting where drinking has been something I was doing on autopilot, I will go back to what I've always done. It's just human nature. Again, it's not because you're weak-willed, it's because there is a neuro pathway that has been built that tells you this is the way we go. And our brain is actually wired to go the path of least resistance that consumes the least amount of energy. It is the most familiar. So if you're walking into a party, a wedding, a social event, or again, maybe you're just an at-home drinker and you always just pour a glass when you're cooking, sure enough, that is a time for you to go, okay, I know how this works. Pre-decide before you get there. You're going to have a lot better chance. In fact, that's why I invite you to join our Sober Sis community, because having a sisterhood of like-minded women who are also pursuing this pre-deciding in the same way, you can have accountability, you can have support, and you can really gain strength from each other, because I fully believe that we are stronger together than we are apart. We can link together and get support. So pre-decide. Second one is to pre-plan. Have some alternatives around. Maybe shake up your routine. If you're going to a book club or a friend's happy hour, BYOB. If you're walking into a happy hour and you can't BYOB, bring your own beverage, then already have it rolling off your tongue what it is you do want to order. Pre-plan. And listen, you don't have to justify the fact that you're not drinking to anyone. I know it's the only drug in the world that we feel like we have to justify not taking. But the truth is, you don't have to justify it at all. Just walk in with a plan. Walk in with what you want to say. Walk in with what you want to drink. What I have done is I have discovered saying yes and smiling is better than saying no and frowning. So when I walk into a party and people are like, hey, can I get you a drink? I'm like, sure, yes. I'd love to start with some water. I've been running around all day. I'm just so thirsty. I'd love to start with water. And that gives me an opportunity to either check the menu, see what is in the cooler outside, or assess. I don't have to decide in the heat of the moment. I can pre-plan what I want to say and what I want to do. So I typically say, yes, I would love to start with some water. And that's worked well for me for quite some time. So you can use this tool for you as well. And then the third P, probably the favorite in our Sober Sis tribe, is playing the movie forward. So what this looks like is if you're thinking, should I have a drink or not? Should I open the bottle? It's 5 o'clock. Come on. Come on. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. It's 5 o'clock, 1 o'clock. Should I open the bottle and have just one? Because again, maybe that's your intention, but chances are that rarely happens. If you can play the movie forward to what it would really be like, you got to be radically honest with yourself. What would it really look like for you to open that bottle of white wine? What would it really look like for you to pop a beer at 5 o'clock or whenever? Would you really just stick to one? Again, this is not a willpower issue. This is not a moral failure. This is the nature of the substance. It wants you to have more than one. It's an addictive substance. It creates a craving for itself. Your tolerance builds. So does your dependency to get the same effect. This is normal. You're not broken. Just your pattern is broken. So this is where you can go, oh, wait a minute. I know what happens. If I open a bottle, I might end up sipping mindlessly through the bottle throughout the whole evening and just have a glass there while I'm cooking, a glass while I'm eating, maybe top it off while I'm cleaning the kitchen. And then, oh my gosh, before I know it, I'm 3/4 of the bottle down. I live in Texas. So we have really big pours here. I'm 3/4 of the bottle through and I was just going to have one. My goodness, maybe you weren't even going to drink tonight. And then that's when I'd be like, oh, wow, I've already blown it. I might as well just finish it off and have the last one in the bathtub. I call it the bottle breakdown. In fact, if you sign up for my 21-day reset challenge, you're going to know this because I send you runway videos that help you prepare. And I have a whole video on the bottle breakdown. And that's when I think I'm just going to have one. No, play the movie forward. Chances are it won't be just one. You can also play the movie forward if you don't have just one. How are you going to sleep tonight? Are you going to wake up at 3 a.m. with a dry mouth and a feeling of dread and a racing heart? Probably not. You may wake up at 3 a.m. anyway, but it won't be because of alcohol. And you can feel great the next day and not have that shame or regret or just defeat. play the movie forward is a P. And then definitely just delaying the decision. Oh my gosh, there's so much power in the pause. PAUSE, pause, just stop and go, okay, wait a minute. Alcohol's not going anywhere. I don't have to just knee-jerk reaction. I don't have to just drink on autopilot or because of social pressure. Yeah, y'all, even peer pressure. I'm in my 50s. Sometimes it can feel like there's peer pressure in your mind because you see everyone around you drinking, but you're wanting something different. Guess what? You do you. And just delay the decision until you are back in your logical mind. You're using the three Ps. Again, pre-deciding, planning ahead, playing the movie forward. These are the three Ps that are so important. And the 21-day reset really does help you step out of the cycle long enough to begin to really retrain your brain and begin that process of creating a new neuro pathway. Pretty awesome. So I hope this workshop has been empowering to you. I want you to know that, again, you do you. It's a journey. But I will say it is easier for me, I have found over time, to drink none than to drink one. But if you're going to drink one, at least go in knowing what is happening. If your desire for a second and third hits you out of nowhere, don't be blindsided. It's actually the nature of the substance itself and the nature of a habit loop and an addictive substance. So for those of you here watching my workshop, I want to give you some questions to answer in the comments below. Okay. What usually happens for you after your first drink? Describe it. Write it out. Write out what happens when you're like, yeah, I thought I was just going to have one as well, like on a Thursday night. Or maybe you were going out with friends and thought, oh, it's just dinner. I'm just going to have one. What usually happens? And when do you feel the shift? When do you notice that you start to go from having one to chasing? That's what I call it. I call it chasing. I was a chaser. I was like, that feels so good. That feels so relaxing or relieving. It was like relief that I thought, where can I get more of that? And then would love to hear y'all share. And listen, if you feel like stopping is something you can do, that is awesome. But if you feel like stopping at one feels impossible, then listen, I would really love to work with you. I would love to show you how you can really begin to retrain your brain, bring awareness in, feel like you've got some tools in your toolbox so that you're not just out there hoping for the best, but ending up doing the worst, not what you planned, not what you wanted. So thanks again for watching. Again, you're not alone. The struggle is real, and millions of women all over the world are in your same boat. And I've had the chance to work with many of you and invite many of you more into our sisterhood where you can wrestle with this out loud and ask yourself, why did I have more when I said I was just going to have one? Let's break it down. Let's learn the science behind it and get the support you need to make different choices that make you feel your best, that make you feel empowered. I can't wait to see your comments below this video, and y'all have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye, everybody.